follow up to a topic we spoke about last week. So last week, just to bring there is currently a SAG-AFTRA, the union for television and radio actors and voice actors as well. I want to say they're all. It's the Screen Actors Guild, is what it is. They have issued a strike.
Except they're not on screen; they're voice actors.
Right. Yeah.
The opposite of a Screen Actors Guild. Voice actors.
Even though as SAG, Screen Actors. I don't make these naming conventions up, people. So they have issued a strike against gaming companies that are not doing certain things, such as revealing what role that you are playing as a voice actor. We gave the example last week of the person playing the Fallout 4. He didn't even realize that he was in Fallout 4 until after the game was released.
That's just funny.
That's kind of odd.
That just the idea of that is funny to me.
Yeah,
it's like, especially if they didn't tell him even after that, and he was just playing Fallout 4. Like, now I know who I was voice acting.
Or a buddy tells you, like,
Yeah.
hey, did you do the voice of this character? And you're like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get paid to know those things, which is the problem.
So, information has come out on this, and it's more for the game companies coming out and kind of giving their side of things and kind of revealing what they have been doing to solve the strike, because no one wants a strike where voice actors are not able to work, and also games aren't being made or they're being slowed down in production. Nobody wants that. So we have here, and by the way, this is targeting Electronic Arts, Activision, Insomniac, a few of these game developers. Some of the companies gave they were okay with transparency. Apparently they were okay with saying, like, okay, you want to be, you want to know the code names of projects.
Yeah, which, come on, like, that's not helping. Like, that's not the point they were trying to get across in that.
Also, whether or not the actors were reprising a previous role, which to me that would be that is something.
That's something you should know.
Yeah. Okay, you played this character before, but you're not going to tell me if I'm still playing the same character or not. Like,
that's something they should know.
Yeah.
But I can see how that would be troublesome for the developers, because it's like, obviously if you're reprising a role you did before and you know what role that is, there's a sequel coming out for whatever you did.
Right.
And that's not what they want. They don't want people to know that.
It's called an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, though. You just simply
it is,
have,
and that happens all the time. And the fact that, like, that's not something that they do, it's a huge deal. Not just do like an NDA is ridiculous.
And that's not even the reason why they do it. The reason why they are doing it is so that, to come back and it's weird when you have a game come back and they've like we were talking about Devil May Cry earlier. The original Dante has had a different voice in it pretty much every single game he's been in. And it's kind of weird when it's
weird. It's weird when you transition. I mean, you get used to it, but it's weird.
It breaks the immersion a little bit.
So you start to realize that that's not Dante. That's a guy behind a booth, behind a microphone. This is weird. Behind a microphone.
I don't know what that's like. Being behind a microphone. So it's just,
I can see that. I wish they hadn't done that.
Yeah. So, those are examples where, don't care. They'll just bring in whoever can voice this character. It could be someone who's well known or not well known. Probably someone who's not well known, because they won't be paid as much. And it is coming down to money. It's coming down to, well, if you tell, so let's kind of play both sides of that aspect. So from the voice actor's position, for them to come in and reprise a role, maybe they didn't like how the character was portrayed last time, because, I mean, whether you like it or not as a voice actor, get tied to different characters that you do the voice for.
I mean, it's, the ending credits.
So on that aspect, and on that aspect, I mean, also, like, what if you are voicing a character who does horrible things.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you don't want to be associated with that. Maybe
Yeah,
you don't have
that's
a problem.
true. And like there's lots of times where I'm listening to something or I see somebody in a show and I'm like, wait a second, that voice. Oh my goodness. And then I think about that character. I can't really see how that would affect people in their like day-to-day life though.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a voice actor being tied to someone who does horrible things, you're a voice actor, you're not doing those things, you're not even acting those things,
right?
Like you're not even physically acting those things, you're voice acting those things.
So realistically, I don't think that's a huge
I'm not sure if that's really affecting their day-to-day life. I think they're more like, hey, this was actually a really big role to play, why did I not make more money?
You're right. Now,
and that's
here. Well, here's something. What if and kind of getting into the other issue of them basically not being told what game they're working on, or I would expect they were given something like what kind of game they were working on, because there are James Arnold Taylor did the voice of Tidus in Final Fantasy X, Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank, Clone Wars.
That's weird.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's got a great range. I found out recently from following his YouTube channel, he's actually a Christian, and he has a lot of he does a lot of soul searching and praying whenever he's kind of offered a role. If there's language involved, if it's kind of a more adult content, he doesn't just snap. He takes time considering it, just given his faith.
That is different. I can see that. It's like when you don't want to be saying things that conflict with like your moral compass. That's one thing. And yeah, I guess if they were more transparent, people could do more research based on that.
Right.
For the rules. But even that, I don't feel like that really hits the majority of these people. I really think it's about money.
Straight up money.
It's not. I don't think transparency is to avoid taking a role that's going to portray you badly. I think it's money.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, most people don't care to cuss a lot if they're going to get paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
And,
right.
Like for him, that may be a reason for him. Most people though, that's not really going to hit them. You know what I mean? And besides, it's like, even if there were moral things, it's like, it comes down to, I mean, I'm sure a lot of this is acting. This isn't who I am. I'm not different because of this.
Right. There is that separation there that occurs.
So.
But the other thing is, like, look at it from the game company's perspective too. Like, okay, let's go with him because he casted the character, he did the character before, we like his portrayal of the character. Let's bring him in again. You tell that to him, and then all of a sudden, well, you want me to reprise the character, you want that consistency.
Give me more money for it.
Give me more for just consistency, as opposed to bringing someone else in. It doesn't matter. They could be the best impressionist in the world. They're not going to get it 100% right.
Honestly, if you're expecting to get what you got before, you should be giving them that money.
Yes.
They should be... if the game company saw fit to make a sequel to whatever game that they were doing, or have them... It doesn't have to be a sequel. Say their character is just in another game. It's not like that was a main character in one game, side character in another. They should probably be willing to pay that premium for that, because that game obviously did well enough to be made into a sequel.
Yes.
And if that's the case, they should be paid more for that.
Yeah, but you can get unreasonable. I mean, you can
always get unreasonable, but at that time, that's when the game developers should be like, no, not much. We're not going to do that. And I feel like there needs to be a balance between that obvious range that is, no, that's ridiculous, there's no way we're meeting those demands, and them legitimately paying people not enough money to do the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
kind of on to the next one. One of the things that regular screen actors get a residual They get additional compensation depending on a movie or TV show getting put into syndication. They can get a percentage of the proceeds, kind of like a royalty fee, I guess you could call it.
Definitely.
They get additional compensation for their work, years and years and years afterwards. I think. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
No, that was just one show I boycotted.
The actor who played Jesse, whose career is kind of like blowing up right now because of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
But commercial for like Wrigley's gum, like that was really weird, and apparently it was like a psychic situation where he's like being tested for psychic abilities, and he's like trying to like get a stick of gum out of this guy's shirt pocket, and it's a weird commercial. You can YouTube it, but it didn't have any words in it. It was all just narration that was going on. He wasn't saying anything. The other guy he was playing against didn't say anything. So they were able to take that commercial and put it in all this worldwide market.
Everyone
worldwide appeal to it. He made so much.
It had no barrier.
Yeah, and he made so many residuals off that he like didn't have to act for the longest time. Like he kind of took his acting career like a little softer because he was making so much money off this one commercial that he did,
which made Wrigley's a lot of money.
It did. I think they ran the commercial worldwide, like not all together, but it was like a 9-year run where he was making money off of it, and that's great. And I kind of want to make the same thing when it comes to the gaming industry. If a game continues to sell and we're talking it becomes a multi-million-dollar seller and a hit.
Sometimes,
yeah, they want to get residuals on that. My issue with that is, and this will be a little bit of a retread, but since we got White here, he may think differently. Quite Wyatt. I kind of think that, are the character model builders, are they getting the same deal? Because I don't think that they do.
And movies are
not the same as video games.
Are the makeup artists getting residuals?
That's true. That is true.
I don't really see. Okay. God, this is hard for me. I don't even know, honestly, if movie actors should get residuals. Like, I don't see if you're right. If there are people not making more money on something they put that much work into, you know what I mean? There is a difference. Mm-hmm. Makeup artists are not out there acting. They're not the ones that deal with the media. They're not the ones that deal with all this other stuff. Right. Their name is not attached to it anymore. Like, when somebody accepts a role for a movie and they're like the main character, they're attached to that movie. They will be known for that movie. And like there are some movies that fade into the ether, but like if it sucks as a movie, they're going to be known for that movie. Or not. They're known for that movie.
And that's a risk that they take.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the reasons they get those residuals, because they are that movie now. You know what I mean?
And a makeup artist, whether a movie does well or not, because a lot of the times the actors get blamed for movies being a failure.
Yeah, and sometimes that's true. Sometimes
especially when you see a pattern.
Yeah.
Of course, as an actor, I feel like, hey, Nick Cage, maybe you shouldn't take every single role that you get offered, because now what you've done well, I think Nicolas Cage is a great actor.
I don't.
He can be. A lot of his earlier work before he kind of got into like
Face Off.
All the I've never seen it, but that's her.
Oh, Face Off's an awful
Similar
movie.
Things can be said about John.
You're right.
But the fact
Face
that
Off.
the fact that he went down this route where, now his name is tarnished. He didn't used to be this.
No,
huge...
now he's a meme.
No.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. He's
as much a meme as like Nigel Thornberry. It's awful.
He is infamous now for just the different roles.
He's immortalized
the Wicker Man.
as being awful. Like
the Wicker Man, not the bees, please, not the bees.
I haven't seen that. I was like, good Nicolas Cage impersonation.
Oh, that wasn't even my Nicolas Cage impersonation. You want to have an interview with Nick Cage?
No, stop.
You do?
No. But just like are tied, like the voice actors,
right.
Their names are tied to those characters. Especially when it comes to big games. I will never forget the voice of Soap from Modern Warfare 2. I'll never forget it. Or Titus from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
And ever since voice acting became the norm, as in like if you had a AAA game that did not have voice acting, you didn't know what was going on.
Right.
It's like I think they deserve a bit, you know?
It's debatable. I think you make a strike over it. I'm gonna err on the side of no.
If everyone that's in that is on agreement, I don't make enough money, this is an unfair situation. Yes, you do make a strike. That's what strikes are for. But is everyone in agreement on that? Because they were like, why don't the individual members vote and see if it's over 50 about
correct
if the if what we have counter argued, like if our counter offer, if that is appealing enough for people to be like, okay, that's enough for us.
Right. And the game companies actually made a website.
They made a lot of changes too.
Yeah.
Like, they were offering a lot.
Let me quote them directly from their website. They said, this structure of addition, because they actually did make, it sounded like they were coming close to an agreement on residuals.
Yeah.
And they said,
yeah, but they just wanted to call it something else.
Yeah. So they
for
said,
legal reasons.
This looks like, according to this, and by the way, this article, we found this on Game of all the companies targeted haven't refuted SAG-AFTRA's stated strike reasons. This new website they've put together makes the case that they've come so close to satisfying SAG-AFTRA's demands that the union should allow its members to vote on the company's proposed contract rather than keep the... This is a quote from their website. This structure for additional compensation is so close to what SAG-AFTRA is demanding monetarily that we believe most performers would conclude the differences are not worth striking over. The difference is more about semantics, not about actual money for performers. The main difference is what the additional money is called. So they don't want to call it residuals. They want to call it additional compensation, which is a completely generic term for that. And I think what the union is basically coming back with is like, no, we want it to be exactly like
and it
works in Hollywood.
That's not how strikes work. It's kind of ridiculous that they have offered so much and it's just like no, you have to do what you can't meet us 99% of the way. That's really silly.
You reach us 100%,
and technically they have a right to do that
as a union, yes.
But is that what everyone wants? Or is it just like, hey, we want to get back to work so we can make money again? That's
the other thing about union strikes that, the members of the union, the people that are part of it, they're going through this drought of work. They can kind of be like, hey, you need to go ahead and get this resolved because I need to get back to work.
And game companies need those actors to come back. That's why they offer stuff. It's not like, hey, shut up, fine. It's like, hey, we need you guys back. It's like they need the voice actors need them. That's how employment and being an employee and being an employee. And it's fine that they went on strike, but they've offered a lot back, and like I think it's about time for them to be like, okay, that's enough, because they have offered, for all intents and purposes, they've offered residuals. It's not that they just don't want to call it that, and I don't understand why that is an issue. So I'm not entirely sure why they don't want to call it that, but I also don't know why that's an issue. So
maybe they don't want it to work the same way for every single game.
It's quite possible.
Or every single contract.
They don't want to set residual rate. They want to decide what that extra compensation is probably what it is.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, you get this much % of the profit. It's you just get this.
Right. I think our stream is having a little bit of an issue right now, but yeah, just to kind of close out, you know, this will eventually end. No strike lasts indefinitely. But hey, if you are part of the union, you know, definitely start to speak out. These companies are actually meeting you on new ground. But in the meantime, I just hope it doesn't delay any of the games we're waiting on.
Me too.